Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It seems like every time I take a little break from social media, the biggest pieces of news come out about the Snyderverse, because today we have a lot to talk about. It really feels like the hype is back. Now for me and many of you on the channel, we have had this hype for a while now, but it appears that a lot more people are starting to believe that the Snyderverse will return. And in today's video, we will explain why. So we start with the biggest news, which is that the Snyder Cut won the Oscars cheer moment with The Flash turning back time to save the world. The film that never existed won an Oscar. This is fantastic news for us Snyderverse fans, but first I want to address those people who are upset with this news. There are people out there trying to claim that this is just a Twitter poll and it means nothing. True, it was an award that was voted through Twitter. My argument to that is that the Oscars were the ones who created this award, and the winner was announced at the Oscars. Also, IMDb states that the Snyder Cut won an Oscar, so that argument is thrown out of the window instantly. To those arguing that Endgame's portal scene or Spider-Man No Way Home's the three Spider-Men swinging together scene should have won that award, I agree with you. Personally, I cheered so much more for both of those scenes than the Snyder Cuts, but the key difference is that you had the choice to vote. It wasn't like an exclusive vote that only Snyder Cut fans could vote for. If you didn't vote and you were unhappy that No Way Home or Endgame didn't win, then that's partially on you, because you had the option to vote. You just didn't. If you did vote, then just accept it. It shouldn't affect your viewing experience of any of these films, and you shouldn't be angry or jealous of the Snyder Cut fans just because they won. Be happy that they are passionate fans, just like yourself. Now that's all I'm going to say on that part of the award. So now on to how incredible it is that we can say the Snyder Cut won an Oscar. Not only that, but Army of the Dead also won the Oscars Fan Favourite Award, which was voted on Twitter too. The Snyder Cut was ineligible for that award, so a lot of Snyder Cut fans decided to vote for Snyder's other latest film to take its place, and it won. So you could kind of see that as another win for the Snyder Cut. Now what is hilarious about these Oscar wins is that Toby Emmerich was in the crowd when the Snyder Cut was announced as the winner. The man who made sure that Justice League was reshot and made sure that the scene that won the Oscar for the Snyder Cut was cut out of the theatrical release had to sit there and watch us win. This was the biggest slap in the face at the Oscars. The fact that the Warner Brothers executives didn't even understand this scene just goes to show how bad they are at their jobs. Now we do have some very interesting reports about the Snyderverse. The first is from Geekosity, which I know a lot of people don't trust. However, Zack Snyder has liked the article, which could add further reliability to this report, which is that the Warner Brothers Discovery executives, including Zaslav, were stunned by Snyder's 2 Oscars wins, and this report does coincide with the Make the Batfleck Movie Twitter account. The hashtag Make the Batfleck Movie campaign had a billboard truck parked outside of the Discovery Global Headquarters in New York. The billboard said, "We request that you please make Ben Affleck's solo Batman movie." Geekosity summarised by saying that the Make the Batfleck Movie screenshot is a chat between the campaign account and the billboard company. The latter revealed that there is a lot of buzz coming from the building. The building security is going to talk to the Discovery CEO. He said there is nothing derogatory in the messaging. Your message made its way to the top. So Zaslav has seen the message. That doesn't mean anything necessarily, but it is a confirmation that Zaslav has seen it. The report also states that insiders continue to say that Discovery will restore the Snyderverse. It's really not a question of if, it's a question of when. There will be a transitional period of musical chairs at the executive levels and below. After the dust has cleared, there will be a new beginning. Now obviously take this with a pinch of salt, but the fact that Snyder has liked this article could push this towards being more fact than fake. So make sure to let me know what you think of that news in the comments below. A scooper called Viewer Anon, who I haven't actually heard of until now, has posted 2 images. One of the Snyder Cut poster and another of a Canon camera. You put them together and it says that the Snyder Cut is Canon. If viewer Anon is reliable, then they are stating that the Snyder Cut is canon to the DCEU. If you do know if this count is reliable or not, please make sure to let me know in the comments below. But it appears a more well-known scooper in Grace Randolph has not only contradicted viewer Anon, but also her past self. In a very recent tweet, she stated, basically, the Flash movie will put the Snyderverse off to the side for Warner Brothers to access it, should they so choose sometime in the future. The Snyderverse is still largely removed from the DCEU with changes I've told you before. Keaton's Batman, Supergirl, etc. So according to Grace, the Snyderverse is still very much accessible by the studio if they choose to in the future, but will be removed from the DCEU. Not only does that contradict viewer Anon, but also herself, as she said a couple of months ago that the Snyderverse is an impossibility. Now, I do find this interesting, as on face value, this sounds like she is just making it up to fit in with what is popular. But I don't think that's what's happened. Back when she said the Snyderverse was an impossibility, the Warner Brothers executives were very much in control, not just of the company, but also the reports that were being leaked out to scoopers. Now, it seems that with Zaslav and his team making extreme changes to the company, those same executives have less control and feel threatened. So for them to see Restore the Snyderverse still going strong a year later, and then seeing the Snyder Cut win an Oscar, I'm sure to save their own jobs, they would not want the Snyderverse to be an impossibility anymore, as alienating a huge chunk of their audience would not look good to Discovery. So to now release news through scoopers such as Grace Randolph that the Snyderverse is still accessible, it's not only a change in tune for those executives, but I reckon a last-minute attempt to save their jobs. The Snyderverse being detached from the DCEU is great news. I know, in an ideal world, everything would be in the same universe, but Warner Brothers made sure that the DCEU went away from Snyder's vision and tone. So to have the Snyderverse in its own universe is ideal. It means Snyder doesn't need to connect his films to any others in the DCEU. It means his story can continue on its own in its own universe. We can have a Batfleck solo film set in the Snyderverse. We can have a Cyborg film set in the Snyderverse. We could even have a Superman solo film in the Snyderverse, all leading up to Justice League 2 and 3. Snyder would produce it all, but only directs a few, including Justice League 2 and 3. I think the Snyderverse is more than accessible, and I think Zaslav will restore the Snyderverse through HBO Max, as he is a huge fan of streaming, and him seeing how well the Snyder Cut did and is still doing on streaming will definitely make him interested in restoring it on HBO Max. Now I know that it isn't ideal, but the Snyderverse on HBO Max is infinitely better than no Snyderverse, and who knows, maybe the Snyderverse shows will be released on HBO Max, but the big films will be released in the cinema. I'm going to say it right now. I think the Snyderverse will be restored. I no longer think it's an if, I think it is a when. Over the past 6 or 7 months, there has been jigsaw puzzle pieces all relating to the Snyderverse. Every week, we seem to get a new piece of the puzzle, and every week, we are closer to completing that puzzle. Like I said, as the merger gets closer, more news will come out. And it has. We are in the best of times as Snyderverse fans. We are closer than ever, and I truly believe we will see the Snyderverse restored. Make sure to let me know in the comments below if you think the Snyderverse will be restored, and what do you think of all these pieces of news. But that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. I hope to see you here again soon, so until then, have a great day. Bye!